All I know is that.
Hey guys, it's Will. It's been an incredible experience going to all these conferences. The space conference this week, meeting SpaceX. I got this pass, and then going to the Qubits conference last week, meeting the CEO of D-Wave. I dug into the company, and there's a ton of powerful insight to unpack. We've actually been breaking it down inside of our live sessions in Stockmate. So if you want to join us tomorrow at 6:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, we've been talking about it. It's the second link in the description to get you in. Now let's dive in to D-Wave. Taking a look at the company, you can head over to our watch list in Quantum. And I think our Quantum watch list has really been hot today. Maybe a little bit of a sell-off after hours today, but everything was green in intraday. Let's take a look at QBTS. It's still up about 1.8% after hours. And this is an interesting one because I can look at this chart right here. Do you guys see how Qubits is recovered back to previous highs all the way up to $12 earlier in March and then selling off? And a lot of quantum companies, like let's take a look at Rigetti really quick. So that's another quantum computing company that has a stock. They're based out of Berkeley, California. Look at them. They never made that previous high recovery. They kind of bounced up a little bit, got rejected. They're kind of holding at this previous support. But when we look at QBTS, look at that. They made the full recovery to previous highs and then sold back down. And there's three things that we look at when identifying if a stock is a good deal. We look at the market that they're in, the analysis, which is broken down into three parts of the chart, the financials, and the news. And then we also, number three, look at the potential for profit, the plan that we could put together for trading it. Now, to start it off with the market, they're in a market, quantum computing, that's growing very fast. Commercially, they're the most viable commercial company. At this conference I went to recently, there was Anduril. There was, they have maybe some interest from other semiconductor or security companies. We saw a lot of Fortune 500 consultants going to this event in order to bring the information back to the companies around the quantum computing. They also have contracts with NASA, and the type of momentum they've received recently has been quite impressive. So when we look at this, we look at this chart, it doesn't look too impressive recently. It's kind of just sold down from that previous high, bounced at this support here, and then now we start to see it maybe make a recovery. So let's kind of take a look here on the chart, see at this level that it's been validating around $5.50. It's really consolidated there previously, unless it's down here to this level. And it recently validated it. It broke up above this SMA, and it's holding a little more bullish now. Maybe we see it sell back down. The picture that I'm looking at here is this previous resistance that we know is very strong. I mean, we've seen this level get rejected a lot at this $7.99 range. So I'm expecting it maybe to shoot up there. Maybe it's after hours today, or maybe it's sometime tomorrow. But I think that it's going to be quick. I think it's going to sell back down. Maybe we're starting to see a little bit of a trend develop here. This trend right here is very early, but maybe this is some of the direction that we're seeing. You guys see this level here? So it's possible, looking at it now, we see it sell back down here to this $6.50 range, somewhere in here on technicals. The RSI, look at that, very overextended up there. The MACD looking overextended. It would make sense that potentially we see it sell down. And this is the new trend maybe that we're catching early. So I'm going to watch this level very closely, see if any opportunities present themselves tomorrow market open. We potentially will trade it. Now, when it comes to the financials, QBTS, D-Wave, I'm really impressed with their financials, to be honest with you guys. They're a $2 billion market cap, and they don't have the same type of research and development. In fact, if you look at the recent government funding, there's this Quantum Initiative Reauthorization Act. It's a $2.7 billion act. It just passed, and the money is flowing into IonQ as well as Rigetti stock, but not into QBTS. And QBTS, D-Wave, they are still holding the profit, the revenue here that's increasing. And so if you take a look at their revenue, they've been holding around 2 to 3 million. This last quarter is 2.3 million, down just a little bit there year over year, but they have renewing contracts with NASA and some other companies. Now, what we uncovered from the financial perspective, well, they beat their revenue recently, so they're still holding revenue. The earnings per share was down a little bit, and we'd like to see their net income improve. Now, one thing to note with this company is that they have a tremendous amount of partnerships with companies that are commercial, from Boeing to Ford Audison for manufacturing, to MasterCard. I mean, we're talking about not very small contracts or small partnerships for experimenting with their quantum tech. So the numbers here, they're pretty small quarter over quarter. I think we could see them go up pretty fast and see some of these numbers skyrocket because of the contracts that they are starting to get with some popular companies. And if you take a look at D-Wave on their website, this is where it gets interesting. They have their name now. It's dwavequantum.com. That's interesting. That's pretty cool. You can see they're the first to demonstrate quantum supremacy. I came into this conference pretty skeptical. I'm gonna be honest. I see them saying GPUs this, GPUs that, we're better than GPU. When you say that, you're going to get some backlash. You're going to get some people saying, is that really true? Are you actually better than NVIDIA's GPUs and everything else? And what I found and what I saw is that they are maybe not ideal for every company, but the companies that have a lot of big problems that they're trying to solve and they don't want to use so much GPU power, D-Wave is making it happen. And they're cheaper to use and faster to use when solving very large complex problems. Does it make a difference on the types of problems that most smaller AI companies deal with, or smaller, let's say, data companies deal with? No, not really. But when you get into some of the types of people that I was meeting at this conference, I was sitting by this guy, was waiting for something to export on my computer actually so I could upload a video. And I'm sitting there and I'm talking with one of the guys from this really, really big loan company, one of the biggest loan companies in the world. And he tells me that he's their head of technology and he's looking at D-Wave because D-Wave could potentially provide them the solution that would allow them to process all of their loans, all their data. They have millions and millions and millions of data points to process it all and be able to look at it and get some of their problems solved around how they need to maneuver and choose to tackle different parts of their business, or what they could see from all that data. What can they calculate and come up with maybe solutions or different ways to take the business? I mean, that was a really, really crazy conversation that we had. And that was just one guy that I happened to be sitting next to. There's other people I talked to that were saying that they were looking at it for their military tech, for their space company. One guy was saying he was recording space weather and his company specializes. His name was Eric, actually. I should check his company. But he had this sensor that has millions of different variables when it comes to space, from the different temperatures to the different different planets, maybe asteroids, debris, or things that are happening on Earth. All of those variables happening while the satellite is rotating, so they're always changing. And being able to calculate all that data, they're looking at D-Wave as a solution, this quantum computing company. So when we're talking about use cases and where they're being used, I was a little skeptical because one of the demos that they did for this Ford Audison, this production, they said it's 83% faster for their production. When they did that demo, they said, this is our demo, and it was on a local host, which is fine. It's cool. I believe it was Alec that did it, one of their engineers, and it was really nice. But at the same time, I was like, I would like to see it in action on a server, or like to show that it's live, and maybe not just on a back end of programs. That's all I was looking at. But anyway, that was kind of interesting to look at, because then I was asking, okay, are they API into D-Wave? Anyway, I would love to get some clear answers on that. Anyway, there was also some companies from Japan in optimizing their different cell towers and all that stuff. So the news and the contracts that they have, they got NASA contracts. I believe they got maybe some more direct government contracts. I believe it was, I know they're with NASA. I don't know if it was Department of Defense, something like that. That was an interesting one to look at, because you had Anduril, which is kind of like really big military company, to be there checking out the tech as well. And so at the end of the day, D-Wave here, you see it a little overextended. Is the momentum there in the medium term? It seems to be. Is the sentiment good? Yeah, after attending that event, I mean, it seems very good sentiment. I would say a lot of people are looking at D-Wave as a front runner for quantum computing. Does it make sense maybe that we could see a couple things happen here? Maybe from the short term, maybe a sell-off there. In the long term, you do have a trend developing. I almost want to erase all these drawings really quick so we can kind of so we can actually see. I don't know if we can. How do I do it? There we go. Erase the drawings, and then you can see, because we were just talking about this in our live session about 2 days ago inside of StockMate, that there is this trend that's starting to happen here, and it's kind of holding these levels. And would it make sense? There's kind of two levels I see. This resistance, rising resistance, resistance, resistance right there. I would imagine most institutional investors might see this direction. And then also you might see this level up here, kind of slightly uptrending. So it's like you have those. You also got the resistance levels that we're saying, you know, it might have some trouble with around $8. But there is this little trend that's starting. I mean, I can kind of see it with the exception of that big push up. I mean, I'm starting to see support, resistance, kind of higher supports, higher resistance. And now it's kind of crossing over this 200-day moving average. Most times when it's getting above the moving average, that average will oftentimes act as a support. Right now it's acting as a support. You can see when it's bearish, it's acting as a resistance. But when it's broken above, it's actually surged quite a lot. And you can see there is acting as resistance. Here is acting as a support, that green line. So right now where we're at, it's kind of maybe breaking above that green line. This is the trend. We're saying maybe it sells down. It's a little overextended. So we got to see if it holds above this level. I would imagine we might be trading it tomorrow. So again, guys, if you want to watch this trade live tomorrow, it's the second link in the description. Love to have you there. I think that QBTS is going to be one of the front runners in quantum. And I would imagine that a lot of people are thinking the same. And that seems to be the sentiment. And I've had a lot of great insights that we've picked up recently that have been very encouraging about the company, and we will continue to cover it. Thank you guys again for watching. If I earned it, hit that like button. Do consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.